preparing the stream
purpose.
to go live. Way simpler than connecting to Facebook. Used to be. Done. Ta-da. I'm up and going. Okay.
Okay. Shannon will be a little late tonight.
So
She's working late.
Sorry,
Jane. What did you
last
say?
week, I watched the YouTube version of last week.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, I didn't, well, and I don't know why it ended up being the way it was, but I'm curious as to whether there was a what am I trying to say? There was a welcome point. I haven't had a chance to, sent me the file, or she was supposed to. She said she was going to. But like I said, my computer just got put together today, and I haven't got to the point where I'm editing last week. There it is. So I don't remember on the YouTube version, I don't remember you guys doing a welcome, kind of thing. So
we did do an introduction, but I think it was a little further in. Blair,
okay.
Blair was sort of really on last week, and so a lot of free flow last week.
I was going to say technically there was no official intro last week.
Oh, you didn't do an official intro at all. Okay, well.
No,
okay,
I hijacked everything.
We jumped into feedback right off, or not feedback, sorry.
Why emotions?
Leftovers. No, leftovers.
Leftovers.
Oh, leftovers. Okay.
Continue.
Hey, Brent, good to see you.
Hello.
Colin, welcome.
Hey, Patty.
Tim, it's good to see you. Will Becky be joining us tonight?
Yes, she's coming.
All right. Coming is good. So, Brent, how are you doing with the aftermath of that accident that we talked about a couple weeks ago? Are you still feeling that?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I think about it. I just think about what happened to the people. I don't know. I looked at first to see if I could find anything, and I haven't found anything. So every now and then I'll check once every few days just to see, but I haven't heard anything or seen anything.
Okay.
So all the flooding that happened in Tennessee.
Yes.
That was my backyard.
Was
Literally.
it really?
Yeah. When they were talking about Johnson City and Washington County, that's where I lived. And
wow.
Nolichucky River and Nolichucky Dam, the word Nolichucky translates to the Indian tribe that was in the area as treacherous. And from a historical standpoint, I can totally see why that you can see the video now of that whole area. Fortunately, everyone that I know was not affected, but all that area, that's my old stomping grounds.
Wow.
So, yeah. So lots of prayers going out to that area. And if conspiracy theory time, I have a guy who's a conspiracy theory. He's my mechanic. He calls me and said, those are all red states, and this is weather manipulation to keep them from being able to vote, so the election won't happen, so that and there'll be a National Guard state of emergency that will take over, so that anyway, he had this whole thing. It's all about not having the election happen so that Trump can become president. So that's another tidbit, and I thought that was funny. Anyway, so we're gonna get started, so I will shut up.
All right. Well, Timothy, if you can hear us, welcome.
Yep. Nice to have
Jackie.
Mr. Tim Defoe.
Welcome, Jackie.
I'm going to try something new, and I want you guys to let me know what you think. Let's see, how do I
I
add?
think a lot about things.
Well, thank you. Is this the right folder? No, that's not the right folder. To help the YouTube thing. I don't know if with my white hair, if this is going to work or not.
Fancy.
Yeah, that does.
Does that, you think that'll be effective for our
Feedback,
viewers?
self-worth.
Feedback, self-worth, and self-acceptance. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
I had this idea a couple of weeks ago. Patty and I talked about it, and then anyway, I thought I thought I'd try it out and see what you thought. So now we can get started. Sorry.
Okay.
Now we can get started. All
There we
right.
go.
All right, you guys.
Put it into your court, Becky.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the 314th episode of the Blair Dunkley Experience, where we discuss mind models. Mind models are a collection of extensively tested thought frameworks, skills, and behaviors that enable people to transform their lives intentionally. They've been tested and proven to be 80% effective when applied consistently, versus mindset, which is only 0% effective. Your host for this evening is Blair Dunkley, the creator of Mind Models. The BDE is Blair's gift to you. We are Tim and Becky Graff, your co-host and certified Mind Model method coaches, along with the amazing Patty McClurg. Mind Models have helped Tim and I in every area of our life, not only in business, but personally resolving an eight-year issue in our marriage within a couple hours, to the extensive navigation of grief and PTSD from the tragic accident in 2020 where we lost both of our young daughters. Mind models have allowed us to be more effective and increase our capacities and speed of recovery without traditional counseling. So whether you've been with us for a while or you're new, we'd like to welcome you to the BDE tonight.
Yes. Welcome.
Welcome. All right. So tonight, as Jane so lovely put up on the screen, this is the 314th episode, and we're going to be kind of going back to a little bit of what we chatted a few episodes ago as it relates to, feedback and how that can actually really allow us to be more effective in our lives. And Tim is going to kick us off tonight.
All right. Brent, do you mind if I give you some feedback?
Sure. Right ahead.
Okay. Brent, I feel inspired by your attendance on the BDE. Your consistent attendance on the BDE brings so much value to this group. And I feel grounded when you are here. Like there's just a sense of completeness that you bring to this group and so much value. And I gratefully appreciate your attendance here.
Thank you. That's I feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Thank you.
Welcome.
No, it's
Okay.
not, I'm not making a joke. I do, that's, get a little.
Yep. And by the way, you did that. I want to point out how you accepted the feedback is, by and large, very appropriate. You said thank you first, and then you sort of let it trickle down, and you got that warm and fuzzy feeling, but you took it with the head first, not the heart first. So that we take it with the head intentionally, so we take in the information. Okay? That's the critical part. We want to hear the information, not take it as emotion or judgment, or it's wonderful to hear and thank you, and then 5 minutes later, you can't remember what they said. Okay? Is there anything that you would like to do to follow up with that feedback? If you have a question, this is an appropriate time to ask.
No, I don't have a question. I just have it's more of the acknowledgement and appreciation, the consistency and the effort that it put in. So that's greatly appreciated.
Good. Well done.
Mhm.
Thanks, Tim. Keep going.
Timothy, do you mind if I give you some feedback?
Absolutely.
Timothy, I feel excited when you show up to the BDE. You bring so much energy and a connection with just the way you show up, the energy that you bring, and the insights that you bring to the group. It just makes this a lot more enjoyable for not only myself, but I think for the group, at least I've noticed.
Mm.
Thank you, Tim. I like that. I've started to feel confident. I've been watching videos and stuff like that. I heard you guys mention my name, which kind of is, I feel like I might take it the wrong way in the moment, but when I digest why I feel that way, it's because I do feel like I bring a different perspective to the table. So thanks for acknowledging that first off. And I also want to give you a bit of feedback if I can back. And I've really noticed.
Actually, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to interrupt this. Tim, one of the things we try not to do is we try not to immediately go and return feedback to somebody who's just given it, because it can sometimes be perceived as deflecting the feedback, especially if it's, well, it tends to happen when it's perceived positively, but we want people to be able to sort of sit in the effectiveness of the feedback given. And at some point in a few minutes, feel free to give Tim the feedback that you were planning on doing it. But we like a bit of a separation between receiving feedback and then giving feedback to somebody else.
Well, I just received feedbacks twice, so thanks, Blair.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you.
Was that feedback, Blair, or was that a critique?
That was a critique, technically.
That was a critique. Yeah, I want to just mention that what we're talking about is not feedback in general. We're talking about the mind model for giving and receiving feedback. So there is a little contrast between what in general we think of as feedback, as just telling people what we think, and the mind model, giving and receiving feedback, which follows that formula of I feel, followed by a feeling word, when, and followed by something that's experiential. So we do tend to keep it positive. Everybody understands the difference between positive and negative, so it could be considered judgment, but is really more rooted in common understanding of those words and how they work in our lives. So I just want to set that out there, that this is not just exchanging thoughts. This is practicing the giving and receiving of feedback as a mind model with the formula I feel, then something, a feeling word, and then when, followed by an experience. So just a clarification there.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that, Patty, if I might, that it's when you're giving feedback, it's giving from the heart. It's given with that care and concern, and as long as it's coming from the heart, that is that important piece to giving feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, something just came up for me, and let me see if I can get it straight. When we're giving it from the heart, sometimes when we're in a personal relation or a relationship that's emotionally loaded, I might want to caution myself about, am I coming from my heart? Because I classify my heart as my emotional place, or am I coming from my head? But is the heart and the head connected? And I'm not trying to say what you're saying is incorrect, It's just be mindful of checking out where you are at in the moment. I have to do that anyway. Otherwise, I come across as like, oh, and it's a dramatic thing when really I'm just so excited, and they might think that I'm frustrated. So that just popped up for me.
Well, out of curiosity, Blair, isn't there, and maybe I'm making something more than it is, but there is a connection between the head and heart. In the heart, something to do with there being a second brain or something like that with science. Okay.
Yeah, physiologically, there's approximately 40,000, like a group of neurons that are in the lining of the heart and clustered in one specific area. And that's about 40,000, well, technically neurons, brain cells, right there in the heart area. Yeah, so that's science fact. And there are, so we have this thinking part of our heart that is there, so that we process both emotions and thoughts and memories. Well, I should say not both, but all. Like, we process emotions, we process thoughts, and we process memories in that area. Back in the day, my dad went in for open heart surgery in the early days, and his doctor was one of the top doctors back in the day. And the doctor, he came back from his pre-op discussion with the doctor, and they were also talking about doing transplants, like if a person's heart was too bad and they took a heart from one person, a donor, into the recipient. It's been thoroughly documented and reported that some people who receive a donor's heart have brand new memories that they've never had before, which I found fascinating. Which is just science fact now. It's well documented. Been around for 20, 30 years as, known thing that actually happens. So you borrow somebody else's memories when you're getting a heart transplant. So anyway, there you come along with the heart. So anyway.
Yep. One of the things that I loved about what you said, Jackie, that came up for me was alignment. Did any of you guys notice the way in which Tim gave feedback? What did you notice about what he did or his state of being when he was doing that? Colin, what did you notice?
It seemed like he was congruent. Like the way that his body language to me communicated sincerity. I don't know if I could pin down exactly what I was picking up on. Maybe it was the deliberation with which he like his speech. It seemed thoughtful. It wasn't rushed. That's what I picked up on.
Awesome. Thank you, Colin. So Jackie put in the chat, calm, but he usually is yes to congruent. Colin, yes. Okay. Jane, what else did you notice anything different about his delivery of feedback to Brent and Tim Defoe?
I want to say he was trying very hard to be intentional.
And how do you know that? What indicated that for you?
For me, it was the inflection in his voice. He sounded very sincere, and he was trying to be very intentional, and not wanting to come. I mean, well, now I'm going to go into emotion, but it just felt like he was looking within himself, looking for genuine a genuine statement and being forthright and honest.
Awesome.
Could we call that authentic?
Sure. You know me in words.
So it was very, very much in alignment with how he was thinking and feeling at the same time. Very grounded, centered, very deliberate. His intonation and inflection was like pushing out care and concern to Brent and to Tim, like, please receive this feedback. Please receive this information that I feel compelled, that I really authentically want to share with you. Okay. So when we're talking about the construct between criticism and feedback, as Patty mentioned, that is really a key difference. It's coming from a place of truly wanting someone else to see what you see.
Jackie.
ahead.
Oh shit! It just popped out of my head again. It'll come back. It'll come back. Maybe not. Shit. Oh yes. And it didn't seem like you're ramming it down his throat. Like, you need to hear this. Like, you're not invested in the outcome. You're simply giving information. It's not like, oh man, I gotta tell you, you know, or
Yeah.
you know, they're anyway.
Yeah. So, and I love that you brought that up, Jackie, because feedback is not a proving and positioning thing. It is not attempting to push your stuff on somebody else, but it is a offering of valuable investment in the other person. Whether it's, you know, something where I can give feedback to Tim that, you know, I feel concerned when he doesn't see his value and what he brings to the BDE. Okay. We chatted about this before. That's an investment of love on my part to Tim coming from that place. Okay. So it doesn't have to be a prover position, but it's truly rooted in authentic desire to share something of value with the other person. I'm curious, Patty, what has your experience been with feedback? What has it done for you?
Wow. Feedback for me has allowed me or given me a window to see myself through other people's eyes. And that has given me externally verifiable evidence, if you will, for qualities I never recognized in myself. So I see myself differently now than I did a year ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. No one had ever said to me the things that I've heard through the genuine feedback using Blair's mind model. It has given me self-confidence. It has challenged me to accept it and to update that there's more to me than I gave notice to before. So feedback can be really life-changing, very, very impactful. So that's what it's been for me.
Thank you so much for sharing, Patty. And I'm curious, you said something that I want to key in on.
Sure.
You said challenging to accept an update.
Yes.
You care to elaborate?
Having people tell me things that I'd never considered that weren't part of my picture of myself. Sometimes they were qualities I would aspire to. Sometimes they were qualities I just accepted, you know, in my own belief system as not being part of who I was, but I really liked those things in other people. And it was a shift in paradigm, a shift in my personal paradigm to consider these people were either lying or there was more to me than I realized. So I had to accept that they had no agenda for lying to me. So these things had some validity through their eyes to me. So what could I do with that in altering the way I see myself through accepting what they said? But the challenge was the dissonance, if you will, between what I saw, how I saw myself and how other people saw me. And then resolving that was an issue of self-acceptance. I just needed to accept the feedback and accept myself with those new qualities. And I have to say, the self-confidence that those things produce, that's rock solid stuff to have in a life, really rock solid stuff. So
when you say dissidence, does that mean
dissonance, like a conflict,
oh,
a
yeah,
dissonance,
okay.
something that doesn't go together.
So the bridging that gap for yourself.
Yes, you could call it a gap too. Gap is very likely a very effective word for that.
In
But
music,
yeah, big gap between the things that people were telling me about me and what I was used to telling me about me, what I was used to believing about me. So yes, Jane.
so I was gonna say in music, we recognize distance because we go, oh, that sound, those two things don't go together, and it's
Yeah.
just really, I can't, this doesn't compute. It doesn't resonate. It's a
Yes.
so it's the opposite of resonate.
Yes. It's somehow disharmonious to the brain when it comes in, but the harmony is in the self-acceptance. The harmony is in updating and saying, okay, I'm going to try that on. I'm going to take that in and try that on.
Patty, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
You mentioned receiving feedback from others. Was
Mhm.
that in this format? Like, did you
Yes.
train people in your
Yes.
life to offer feedback in this way?
It was through the various coaching classes. Blair frequently has people practice giving and receiving feedback in the coaching sessions. And then Blair has given me feedback over the years. And Jane, some of these people that I've been sort of on my mind model journey with for years. I mean, it's scary, Jane. I wouldn't think that it's been years, but it has been. And so yeah, it's all been within the mind model format. Yes, Timothy, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just I've been doing a bit of listening here, and I liked it. I like this example because I feel like feedback is the perfect, like I think I mentioned this maybe a class or two ago, but dialectical behavioral therapy is trying to understand that two things could seem opposite but could both be true. And maybe not, that's not the best example for, say, what you were talking about, receiving feedback and having a negative feeling or disagreeing with what the feedback was. But I feel like in those moments, accepting ourselves and changing our behavior can seem contradictory. I don't know if I'm wrong there, but just kind of, it's like one of the thoughts that might come in and say that, I'm to try to learn to accept ourselves and to change our behavior, I think is what the whole point of feedback is, right? At the same time, changing behavior probably more of a goal or an outcome that we would want doing that, but
I was
accepting
say,
ourselves.
Can I speak to this one, Timothy? Because my objective with this is to give people information in a way that is as easy for them to accept as possible. So it doesn't create, that's how come we spend time on practicing acceptance, just letting it resonate in. If you want to park the information that you did, great. If you want to throw it out, don't throw it out in front of the person. Instead of saying, I don't believe that, that's crap, blah, blah, blah. It really comes down to creating an alignment for receiving information and then being able to hopefully accept or just basically accept the information as somebody else's point of view. And when you do that, just that basic thing of just accepting it as somebody else's valid point of view, that's where transformation happens, because we start seeing ourselves differently, because we cannot deny that they see us far differently than we see ourselves. So it was just trying to do that simple thing of having it so that people can accept information with as little resistance as possible without the sense of being judged.
May I add to that, please? The other part is that in Blair's model of giving and receiving feedback, there is no agenda in giving the feedback. It is not agenda driven and the goal is to change someone's behavior or the goal is to, get them to respond in a certain way. There is no agenda with the giving and the receiving of feedback, just part of what allows it to be received without judgment. So I don't know in truth how well aligned Blair's mind model is with this dialectical thing that you're talking about, because I don't have a great deal of experience with that. But I can say for myself, there was a gap, but it was information. It wasn't like this created some monumental conflict in me and I had to decide if both were true and this kind of thing. No, it was just like, I've never heard that before, or I hadn't considered that. This is new information. So I'm taking it in and finding a place to put it. And before I leave, Christy and Shane, my goodness sake, it is so amazing to have you back. We have missed you.
Yes.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
But before we go too far down the line, I got to fill you guys in. Patty, if you don't mind me sharing way back in the beginning, you've shared on here before that I was counseling you back in the day. And one of the things that I recall doing is giving you feedback in a couple of sessions concurrently. And I just remember you made the face, like that, and I remember you making a face very, very similar, because that's when it just jumped back at me jumped out at me where you just made that face, like this incredulous thought that somebody, not somebody else, but that somebody, me, happened to see you in this way in the world. And it did not even enter your mind that was a possible viewpoint that somebody could have of you.
Yes, my father would say it hits with all the force of a new idea.
Exactly. And that really was a good mind blower to me, because that was where you were. I was trying to get you to start to evaluate yourself fairly, stop judging and evaluate, and to notice how many things you did effectively, as opposed to how many places you possibly could have screwed up. And it was wonderful. And when you saw that, it was just such a
it really
moment.
is. It's a real aha moment. It's really a lovely experience to have such an aha moment. So yes.
So
and Shane and
Jackie,
Christy, it is great to have you back.
Yes. Oh, totally. Jackie, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, Patty, I just feel so I can't explain. It's just warm all over and stuff like this, because like the look on your face, it looks to me like something has happened in the last week, because from what I'm seeing right now, you're presenting yourself, your face is relaxed, you're smiling, you're seem to be very comfortable in your body. Not saying that you weren't, but there's just this beautiful sense of, I just wish I could put a word on it. Colin, I might need your feeling words.
Oh boy. I was trying
I was going to say the topic.
I'm going through that in my head.
I have to say that, yes, the topic causes me to feel restful. This is a restful topic for me.
Yes, restful does it.
The words that are coming up for me, Jackie, is calm, and just you can feel the self-confidence coming through the screen.
Out of her pores, the smile. It's just like, oh, there it is. Oh my God, she's got teeth.
Oh gosh.
remember, Patty? Because I used to say to you, come on, just smile a little. Just like get into it. I know you're under a lot of stress and, you're trying to run a show, but like, anyway, beautiful.
Thank you, Jackie.
My pleasure, darling.
Hey, Jackie, would you care to practice that feedback in the proper feedback formula, please?
No, I don't want to. I felt great telling her like that.
Okay, fine.
Okay, we can work through it if you really want to.
Yes, I would. That's the point.
Shoot. Okay. Patty, I feel alive when you smile and talk with us now. That's still not quite correct, but I'll stumble through this. Because like when you, oh, okay, stop. I have seen so much growth in you. I feel inspired by your growth and the way that you're actually smiling and relaxed and like kind of moving around and playing with things. And okay, I'm happy to see a less guarded Patty. Now,
thank you.
That makes sense? Like a
Yes,
less
it does.
because I don't
You and
have
I've had wonderful conversations regarding this whole topic. Jackie.
You're just doing awesome. It is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. You and I have talked about this stuff in the past, and I really value your perspective on it. So thank you for marking my growth.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you very much.
Lee.
I really care about you, and I like everybody on here. I really care about everybody, and seeing everybody going through their different stages is just amazing. It just shows you how effective these skills are in our lives.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Lise, would you mind if I gave you some feedback?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, I accept that.
Lise, I feel excited and truly enlightened when you share your perspectives on how you're receiving mind models and how they're connecting with what you're currently working on and your current view of the world. I feel edified by the value that you share, especially tonight, the comments that you've made in the chat.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's a great place to be. It's a safe container, and I really appreciate it because everybody has a different point of view about different things. And to be able to open an area where there's middle ground and we can all feel connected and also bring in feedback that is good information, and also I don't know if I can say objective, but when some people have certain life experience and skills, it's really nice to be able to receive and the sharing that these people and they inspire other people. So with confidence and self-confidence. So it shows and it shines. I don't know the exact formula for that one, but I really like it.
Lise, thank you so much. Do you mind if I ask you a follow-up question?
Go ahead.
How did you experience the feedback that I shared with you?
I really appreciated it. It was like, wow. And it's, being not just recognized for who I am, but also for how I'm expressing it, and the person that is there and just participating and attending. So thank you. Very grateful.
Well,
I
and
want to make one specific thing here, Lise. The manner in which you were describing the acceptance of the feedback was actually very skillfully done, by the way, number one. Number two, it was non-deflective. It was reflective, not deflective. Okay, you guys are hearing D and R, so you weren't reflecting it away, or you were, or deflecting it away, you were receiving it. So that reception of it, and thank you very much, Lise. Yeah, non-deflective but reflective, where you were reflecting on the information internally and sharing what your process was in the moment. That is an acceptable model in, like, my model of feedback. So that is sharing with the person around, or people around you, that how you are processing that information, and that is completely fine. You did not turn around and just give that feedback to somebody else. You told the person how you were taking their information and internalizing it for yourself. That's very skillfully done, by the way. Really well done. Nicely, great job.
Well, thank you. I'm going to get a recording of this and just get this, because it's when I'm in the middle of something and I get a aha moment or something, it just comes out. And I don't necessarily remember everything that I said, but the intention was that I'm very grateful, and hopefully other people can benefit from the information that's being shared.
Well, your role modeling there was spot on, because you were just role modeling how to share your processing of the information. So, and you described your behavior of how you received the feedback. So well done.
Thank you. I may need an appointment with you just to go over all that.
Sure. No worries. You can book one in.
Thank you.
So
Yep. And Jane has already placed the replay link up there, so if you need to do it. And welcome, Matt. Yay, you're in. Anyway, so continuing on.
Okay. So are you guys experiencing something different as we're modeling feedback tonight? Zach, I'm curious, what's coming up for you? What are you experiencing with this?
I see it as significantly more effective than any other form of delivering feedback for someone. I'm glad Matt and Shane are here, because they both help with teaching people and helping them with trading. So hope you guys are taking notes. I've never delivered feedback with the formula, so I'm very excited to test it out. I'm gonna be trying it with I've got a couple meetings with some traders tomorrow. I'm gonna try it with them. And I have frequent meetings with my business partners. Totally gonna try it with them. I'm loving it. I think just from what I'm seeing, how Patty's responding and how Lisa's responding, and Timothy from a couple weeks ago responded with Blair doing it. Highly, highly effective. I can't wait to put it into practice.
So
Yeah.
that
Would you like to practice tonight?
Patty,
There we go. Yes.
I was just getting ready to
Did I
ask.
take your line, Becky? I'm so sorry.
Directions a little faster.
If Becky didn't, I was gonna.
Did you not? I'm like leaning into the camera. Like
I think
I wasn't watching you. I was watching
in on
Zach's
that
face.
one too. I was seeing the same one. What a hell of an opportunity! I also, before you do that, I wanted to also point out here with Timothy before it slips out of my mind. Timothy, 2 weeks ago when I did give him feedback at the end, was talking about the feedback sandwich, which is a great model, and we do that as well. He called it some other kind of
compliment sandwich.
Yeah.
Compliment sandwich. Right. Thank you. I forgot your word, but we do the same thing with the feedback sandwich. So we do a positive feedback, and then negative feedback, and then positive feedback. I like phrasing it slightly different than positive, negative, positive. I like going a positive feedback, gap feedback, where the gap is, and then putting that into positive feedback so that people identify it. And I've found for myself, I will give negative feedback when I am finding something that is consistently ineffective that somebody is doing. But 90% of the time now, I look at it in terms of a gap. What's missing is the word that, like, that's the phrase that I go, and I give them the feedback around what I perceive as missing for me. Okay. And I own that. So I can not attack somebody with it, but give them clarity with it. And that's the critical pieces that I try and do.
I think we call that like a growing edge. An edge.
Yeah, we can. It's got lots of names.
Like soften the sharpness, or
absolutely.
Just tiny little adjustment. Yeah.
Blair, I don't want to let Zach off the hook here, but may I ask a question about the compliment sandwich?
Go ahead.
So with that one, I've always been, or since I thought about it more, a little hesitant, just because it seems like that could be almost like I feel manipulative, like trying to slip in a critique.
Okay, I'm going to cut you off there. Yes.
Okay.
It can feel manipulative if that's what your intention is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it can also be managed.
Okay.
So I want to manage the perception, and that's where I am with it. Okay, Timothy?
What if it pertains to the same incident? So I don't really have an example off the top of my head. I'm kind of tired. Usually why I miss group, because I fall asleep too early. But I feel like if it pertains to the same thing, I feel like you have great leadership skills. However, sometimes you come off a little, somebody give me a feeling word, Colin?
Arrogant.
Right? And then after that would be, but you also find a way to make everybody work together, and it's beautiful. I don't know if that's an example of a compliment sandwich.
Yeah, that is, and then that doesn't quite align. I want to.
I think I have a really good example.
Go for
that.
It.
I can use it on Matt. Matt, are you able to get on camera?
Matt, don't do it. Just kidding.
It's a trap. All right. Matt, would it be okay if I give you some feedback on your trading coaching?
Yes.
Okay. I feel honored that you are willing to put in so much of your own time to teach other people how to be as successful at trading, or even more successful at trading than you. I feel really excited at the prospect of how you are going to be so much more effective at trading as you grow in discipline, as you continue to hone in your discipline. So that was the gap feedback. I'm basically telling Matt, I think you should be more disciplined, but I'm doing it using the I feel formula, right?
Okay, one of the things that I would be doing here is just clarify with Matt, ask him directly what he got from that, please.
Okay. Matt, let's see, hold on. I wrote it down. Becky did this here. Matt, can I ask you one more question, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
How did you experience that feedback I just gave you?
I'm very honored to hear that. I guess it's for me, it's like I've been putting in a lot of hard work and I'm seeing everybody's results, and that makes me know what we're doing is the right thing, and we're seeing those experiences out of people. So I like that. It gave me goosebumps.
What's Zach? How did you perceive what he got?
Potentially, he only got the
right,
the positive part.
Yeah, you're right, because the contrast was not significant.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if we were to use like Timothy was using kind of an example of using the word however. I don't like using however, but in particular with giving feedback.
Right.
So what might I have done differently to?
I would have broken it up as to two separate feedbacks, because there is I'm going to, hey Matt, do you mind being a guinea pig with me too? I'm going to try and role play Zach's second thing, but do it differently. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to do a sandwich feedback, a feedback sandwich. Matt, I do feel genuinely excited when I see how you have committed time and energy and resources to engage with people that you are coaching in training. I love your style and work. I have a minor concern. I feel concerned when I see the potential gap that you have room, significant room to grow both in your training and your coaching. I do feel delighted with your commitment and focus and intention as well. Okay, Matt, how did that work for you?
Same answer as before, as I feel the gratitude towards the work I'm putting in, and I also know that I got my own personal, I guess you can say personal battles right now that are taking away my personal discipline to have the success and just do what I can teach people to do.
Right. Okay. So it was similar but a little different, because in your response here, it seemed like you heard the middle part for the point of improvement, the gap was heard. Correct?
Yeah, there was a little bit more of a separation on it. Was like one subject kind of to another, just to kind of, there was a separation, a line in the sand kind of thing.
Exactly. Did you notice that with Zach's in the beginning? Because it didn't seem to be there from your response.
I did. It just I'll be honest too, just to be able to hear what Zach said. It's just something I've been liking to hear. Because because I feel like I've been really putting in a lot of hard work. So that's the first thing that really hit home for me. And like I said, the goosebumps, because it's nice hearing it from somebody that has become a personal mentor of mine. So
Yes. Yep. No,
I think Zach's was there. He was pointing it out the same in a way, but just yours is a little more. I was able to, at the same time, be a little bit more specific to the second half of that, because we
Right.
redid it. I did hear what he was saying, and I knew what he was saying, but the thing that hit home for me the most, and like I know that the discipline on my side is a little bit off, but that's also personal family things going on that are slowing me down, but not even slowing me down, just making me lack discipline, where I just know that I just gotta, the days that I got stuff going on, I just need to take a deep breath and coach, not trade.
okay, fair ball. Zach, what did you pull from that?
So I think the biggest thing I pulled from it is that when you say I feel and insert feeling word, the feeling word doesn't have to be a positive one. So what you used, Blair, is I feel concerned.
Yes.
So I think that's really what separated that to help him see the contrast.
I'm really nodding my head big time, because that's exactly the whole point. It's not about always giving positive feedback. It's about giving feedback that addresses growth and information.
Can the word although be used in the middle of that to switch it from one side to the other?
It can. Some people use however, or the only word that I'm sort of, you can actually sometimes get away with but that is extremely risky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Although works. I just likes changing words. Flat out.
If I were to use although, I would probably use it after the gap feedback. So like
absolutely,
if he's, I feel concerned, discipline, blah, blah, blah. Although I do feel delighted, or whatever it was that Blair used,
right.
Last.
One of the things that I do want to point out, when I heard Matt's response to your feedback when I asked him, it seemed to me that because he holds you in such high regard there, Zach, and getting acknowledgement from you directly, that was sort of a very, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't mean to put words in your mouth here, Matt, but it seemed to me that that was a very positive, powerful, positive moment for you to get that level of recognition. Is that accurate?
100%, because what I'm going through and battling at home and things like that, that hit home for me.
Yeah.
It was something I needed to hear.
Yep.
So I appreciate that.
That is something that is, you've got to know, like as a coach and coach trainer, I pay particular attention to the recipient's perception of that information. And whatever happens, if people are needing, and like what Matt more or less said, there is, your positive information was so significant for him that the point of improvement was not that big of a deal for him. It didn't resonate as, or it wasn't taken as deeply, simply because he wanted and needed the effective positive reinforcement that he got.
But on the other side of that, that makes me want to be more disciplined.
I hear you loud and clear.
So that
that
just put a fire under my ass. And
I'm hearing feedback from Matt that I don't give enough positive reinforcement to my team very often. I need to do better.
Just saying.
Hey, did you have a comment or something? I saw your hand go up. Did you have something that came up for you during this conversation?
Well, I didn't know if, like, when Zach's trying to do the gap, doesn't want to use the word however or although, if somebody could, not somebody, whoever's talking could lead that into like ask it. I'm curious to know if you feel that there's something on, blah, blah, blah. I'm curious to know something like that wording instead of although or however.
Well, when you go into I'm curious to know, that's getting outside of feedback. And I'd be cautious. Yeah, it pushes it outside of the purview of feedback. It's a great discussion to have. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but if you're trying to do it as feedback, it's going to screw up feedback royally. Okay, because the cleanliness, this feedback was designed to be a contained unit so that it can be cleanly accepted by a person's brain.
Yeah.
And that's the piece here. The rest, the part that you shared there, Shane, was putting it in terms of a conversation again and going, I'm curious. And that is valid, but that's no longer feedback. Although I used to have students, especially during one of my coach training classes way back in the day when I was training, they think that they're giving feedback when they're not, because they're trying to pull the feedback and have a person sort of give feedback to themselves. And that's not an effective way to do it. When it's given directly, that is far more effective, because somebody else, like in this case, Matt gets the privilege, gets the pride of actually the privilege of hearing it from Zach and the pride of knowing what he did exactly to earn that. And it's unequivocal. Like he can't run and hide. He did shit well. Like very well done. So yeah, good job.
Quick question on that, because asking questions to kind of not hoping, but to help someone understand a concept, what would you name and label that? Because although maybe it's not effective to do that in this scenario of giving feedback, but for example, when I'm on a sales call, one of my main objectives is for people to understand that not trading well, it has so much more to do with their state of mind than anything else. So I'll ask them something like, what do you think has held you back this whole time? Right. Which is definitely
clarifying question. Just say plain and simple. You want a name and label for that? That's a clarifying question.
Clarifying question. Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
I was gonna say, when there's a lot of people and there's some more particular people in newbies, or we'll say new people coming into some coaching or personal questions or anything, and we'll say in the trading world as an example, but they come in and I feel that they look to some of the coaches or some of us for answers instead of, sometimes I try, and I know some of us try to get them to answer the questions for themselves, to actually realize. And I feel like that's kind of what even this feedback loop started, even with what Zach was saying to me, is he gave me that gratification, or not gratification, but he gave me the good part first, but then now that gave that good warming feeling. And then now, okay, now what can be improved? So I feel like some of these, some people sometimes come to us as coaches and kind of just say, well, what am I doing wrong? Tell me what to do. And we can tell them what to do, but they don't understand that necessarily. They're not taking in what we're saying, because they're still looking for us to do it for them. So we kind of need to find a way to get that to separate, so that, okay, we're going to show you how to get there, but I think they're not understanding. I think on my side is that I'm not using the correct words, that they're hearing the teachings the way that they can interpret and actually apply it.
I agree. I want to build on this though, right here. Sorry, Tim, Becky, Patty, even for jumping in here, but there's some subtle nuances that are going on in here that I didn't anticipate, especially didn't cover off in all of this, the prep work we did. But Matt, you just hit a nail on the head. And Zach, when you're doing your coaching for people in trading, or when you're Colin, when you're out there coaching people in business and you're working people through and you give them feedback, I constantly look at this from, did this help this person's self-worth? Okay, so Matt gave great acknowledgement to Zach in terms of what he did, pat on the back and everything else. What did that do to your self-worth, Matt?
Right. It raised the bar.
It raised the bar. And when you raise the bar, what happened to your desire to work?
It yeah, makes me want to do more.
Exactly. You said lit a
it
fire.
opens my mind to accepting that there's other things to improve on.
Exactly. And that comes into the third point of what tonight is all about, self-acceptance. Okay, do you see how these three actually tie together virtually seamlessly? Okay, so if feedback is delivered effectively, you can raise the bar on the person's self-worth. So if you're coaching or being coached or learning something, look, name and label this in your head and figure out, okay, I received some feedback. I feel wonderful from it. Great, but what did I do to deserve this? What makes me worthy of this? And when you may not think about it like that, but you got to be able to notice that in the person receiving it. Like, I don't usually point this out, but because we are learning this stuff collectively together, and the topic is feedback, self-worth, and self-acceptance, that's how come it's all three of them are here, because it is the self-worth that a person grows from. When I was working with Patty back in the day, it was being able to give her feedback on her positives.
Well, and Blair, if I may, if you guys weren't on last week, go back and watch last week's session, because I received some extremely positive, a prime example of what Blair's talking about from Lori, from Colin, from Jackie, and there was a few other people on that call that I received, just like Blair's talking about, some feedback that helped my self-worth and self-acceptance. So I challenge you, if you weren't on last week, to go back and check that out, because that was a prime example. Just sharing real quick, Blair.
Absolutely. Thanks, because that's spot on, sir.
Well done, Tim.
Hi, Lori.
Lori's here beside you.
Well done, Tim.
Blair is there. Oh, go ahead, Lori.
I was going to say I am here. I've had an allergic reaction to some medication, but I'm listening on the call and sitting beside Blair. And yeah, exactly, Tim. You were, great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's good to see you. In and out of the blur.
Colin, you have a comment?
Yeah, question for Blair. How do you know if it's increased their self-worth? Are there specific things that you listen for immediately following giving feedback?
Well, Lise did a brilliant job of role-playing that. Well, not even role-playing, she just did it. She did it in probably the most sophisticated way I've seen in a long time, where she was actually able to describe her process in real time as she's doing it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, Lise, you did it. You didn't. You may not have recognized that you were doing it, but I sure as hell did. I saw that. So that was highly, highly, highly effective, because it was real time. Being reflective in real time is not necessarily an easy thing to do, but it was highly effective. Matt, on the other hand, did it also highly effectively, but a different way, because he described the consequence of positive consequence of what Zach's feedback did to him, and how that lit a fire under his butt to do more. When you listen for people's internalized description without trying to, quote unquote, prove something to themselves or others. I listen for, are they tearing themselves down and in a why? Or are they in a what and how? And describing what is happening and how it's impacting them. And both Lise and Matt shared the what and the how descriptors, not a why scenario. And that was the shocker that happened the second time I walked through giving Patty positive, effective, positive feedback in one of my, like, second or third sessions that I had with her. Because the first one, it was deflected.
Mm.
And in the second or third session, or in the session after, was being deflected, and forcing her to hear it again. Forcing is a little harsh, but telling her again the second time, forcing in yes, it is forcing, because I'm saying virtually the same thing twice to her, putting her and getting repetition on it. And by just sheer repetition, her eventually having aha moments, because I had no other purpose other than to give accurate information, not to make her feel good or bad or anything else. That was it. Just have her do that. By the way, I then took that the next step and required her to start writing down daily 3 things that she did effectively that day, as opposed to 25 things that she could probably tell me that she screwed up with that day. Like, it's just like, no, I just want 3 things, that you did effectively. Because so many times, this is going to be one of my early podcasts. I'm still working on getting my podcast shorts and reels down here. But when you stop and think about it, when you work with people that are depressed for a long time, you start seeing patterns, especially if you've got the question concepts. And then you start hearing, you just see people talking in why-based stories. They don't necessarily give you, they might state, I feel depressed because, and it's now story. Okay, and that story that goes on then justifies reasons, excuses, rationalization, and justifications for that feeling. And at that point, their finger is pointing away from them, because it's almost always others and situation that has caused them to be the way they are, because now they're the victim. Okay, so it's always externally, they're always pointing external, and they have no part to play in this at all, which is just total bullshit. But it's a great story that they're telling themselves, and to them it feels absolutely correct. But they can't break out of their depression because of that. Because there is no what or how lifeline for them to find an exit, because the exit has to be in the present. And as we are learning, whys are 100% in the past. We cannot change our past. Therefore, if we're depressed and constantly focused on the past, we must stay stuck, because we're not in the present to make a change. So that reality is there. So giving feedback, effective feedback, including, I feel disappointed. Okay, Patty, I'm going to give you feedback from years ago, probably 4, 5, 6 years ago now. But it's like, this is an example of what I would say to Patty. Patty, I feel disappointed when you don't notice yourself doing things that are effective or positive. And she, yeah, that's right. Like she just did. But that gets her into the present emotion. Because I got her agreeing with me in the point. That's my opening right there to move her from a why to a what emotion. But she thinks she's still in her depressed state. Then I can go and give her another thing. I feel impressed when you can see yourself as you actually are in the moment. And I did that little one again. Like, that's sort of what she would do. And her brain is starting to scramble on this shit. What the hell's going on? I don't get it. Because now I'm not feeling depressed. I'm feeling hopeful. I'm feeling all of these different things.
Is that the discerning thing that Patty was doing, that she labeled it as? Like, what was the word, Patty?
Yeah, it wasn't discern, it was dissonance. It was
Dissonance.
it was receiving information that was disharmonious to where my brain had been living for so long. So again, a shift with new information, new point of view, new perspective, new frame, all of those things. And Blair's right. It was like, oh my gosh, you know, this is me. You know, it's like,
that's the look. That's another one of those looks that was way back when.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is you.
Total disbelief.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. It
you
wasn't somebody I knew very well.
But you got to start someplace. I needed with Patty to start someplace close enough to where she thought she was using words that she thought would hold her stuck, but didn't.
Exactly. Or otherwise, it's too much of a stretch.
Bingo.
Yes.
Too much of a stretch. It's like
too much gap.
Yeah. Too much of a stretch. Yeah.
One of the visual things for me as we're talking about this that comes up is like, have any of you guys ever gone, to have a shower, you got the door shut, you don't kick the fan on and your mirror gets a little bit foggy, but it's not completely covered and you're looking at it. You can see the shape and different things, but you can't actually see clearly or see like detail until you wipe it down. Getting feedback from somebody else is like somebody clearing off your mirror. We're so used to staring at ourselves or acting and behaving in a certain way that we don't have perspective outside of our own. And that's how come this process, using the feedback formula, is so powerful in building self-worth in Patty's situation, because we're used to deflecting. Yeah, right? Or somebody gives you positive feedback and you're just like, well, that was really kind. You're not open to receive it because you haven't considered or giving yourself enough care and concern to consider and be open to the facts, the truth, that you are this way or this information is perceived by another person in this way.
Yeah, because we might be living in a self-fulfilled prophecy, thinking that you're this way, so you will perceive any information you get through that filter.
It's definitely self-perpetuating.
Yeah.
So you guys, we're about 15 minutes to the end of the time. I think maybe now is a great time for wrap. I know it was fast, huh, Jackie? I know. So as we go through this, are we okay to transition to wrap up for tonight, you guys?
Okay.
But I didn't get any feedback.
Did you guys want to do another one next week and just do feedback to each other's?
Yes.
Would you like to do that?
And yeah, I think it would be very beneficial because we need to practice these skills, because
yes,
when
absolutely.
you go out into the real world and you're like, I feel that, and you get your little notes out, you know what I mean? So like if we hear it, see it, do it, it's like what? Repeatable. Come on, guys. What's that thing?
You'll
Identifiable, repeatable, and duplicatable.
Thank you. Who said that?
Blair.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
I think it would be great to do that.
Cool.
Okay, so then for tonight, I think moving forward, just think about opportunities based on what you've learned tonight. How can you apply it and practice so that next week when we come, We can discuss your experiences and then we'll spend some time practicing. That work for everybody, Blair, Patty, Colin?
Yeah. And if you're short on feeling words, you've got a week to check it out.
Yep. Cool.
Colin, how many feeling words are you up to now?
1,350 something.
Oh my goodness. Are you allowed? Can you share those, please?
I'm happy to share it, sure.
You need to put this like a PDF and sell it.
Colin's feeling word dictionary.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
That sounds like 1,350 different kinds of shirts.
Yeah, so true. So true. Oh, one thing that I remember when I'm giving feedback, it's a kind of like a little bit of a bulldozer type of personality here. Trying to quieten down on that is I really have to, like, when you have choices of feelings, you don't necessarily have to choose the strongest one. However, there's a however word. If that one doesn't seem to have impact, maybe you want to choose another little feeling. I don't know.
Thank you for that, Jackie.
Yes. All right, Matt. Excuse me. Coughed on my own word there. Matt, would you like to start off the feedback tonight?
Wrap up.
Sure.
Wrap up. Goodness.
Just kind of coming in halfway through, but hearing the how we can use the feedback and how we use, I guess you could say correct words or wording to make it effective. I was listening to an audiobook while my kids were swimming earlier today, and it talked about as an example of how sales are done inside a grocery store or inside of a sporting goods store or whatever. The good items, the items that sell the most, are generally on the end of the aisle or in the middle of the aisle. They're never on top or on the bottom. So it just kind of made me think that as we're talking through that is I'm giving feedback. Am I delivering feedback that is end of the shelf worthy or middle of the shelf worthy? Or is there something I can change in my wording so that I make sure it gets there? But then when I'm also receiving it, am I listening enough to take in that data and process it to the point that can I effectively take that data and now put it on the middle shelf or on the end shelf and apply it?
Absolutely.
What it's all about. It's about choice.
Mm-hmm.
You actually do with the physical feedback that you get. You always have it. Well, should I say always? Because it's kind of black and white, but you have a choice.
Yeah, now I just basically every time I look at it, I just want to be able to, if I'm hearing feedback or I'm giving feedback, I'm just going to say, is this middle shelf worthy?
Now, middle shelf, like middle shelf and top shelf, what's the difference, Matt?
Well, middle shelf is right eye level. So middle shelf would be like you're staring right at it. You're easy to see. You don't have to look away. You got direct line of sight of what you want to achieve. So if it's on the top shelf, you have to veer off and look up. If it's on the bottom, nobody sees what's on the bottom generally. So it being right in the middle shelf, eye level, that's what's seen the most and heard the most.
Feedback in the now. Middle shelf is now.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Sure.
Or close?
One way to do it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I just love the way that you explain things, and it kind of gives me, it opens up my mind a little bit more to categorize things and work with them.
Well, it creates thinking that way too, and it's coming from a book that's about habits, and it can now start to create better habits of listening, receiving, doing all the things and the mind models and going through all those steps in the process and getting more into the now, just starting to reprogram those things that I never had before, or I just didn't know how to use them, and now making them more present and being able to act, like you say, in the now and actually receive things as they're to be received.
Super. Okay, we got to wrap this thing up here. So,
I give it a 9.5.
Sorry, what?
I give it a 9.5.
Awesome. By the way, thank you, Matt, so much for your participation tonight. Really, lots of contribution from you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Matt. Zach, do you want to participate in the wrap up?
Yes. I'm going to give it 9.6. Got a one-up Matt over there. Got a lot of great, very, very effective things here that I learned that kind of stacked on top of what we've learned so far when it comes to the feedback formula. I very much was interested in this and how feedback, self-worth, and self-acceptance all play hand in hand and together. I'm noting all sorts of ways that this is applicable in life with family and business and customers and also all sorts of very, very what a great skill set to practice. So definitely 9.6 is amazing, very, very effective.
Thank you, Zach. Lise, do you wish to share your experience in the wrap up?
If I may say that it was an excellent conversation, a beautiful sharing, and I'm learning more from each person, and I get to know each person better in the way they, everybody delivers and shares the feedback. And I'm also learning to get some of the gold nuggets and say, okay, to work with it and to say, how can I use it to remember so that it becomes an automatic reflex, and to also be authentic and to know when it's a good time to say something or somebody else has said it well. And I think that was really effective. So, it's kudos to that person. So my definitely 9.5 for sure.
Thank you, Lise. Jackie, do you wish to share your experience in the wrap up?
Sure. Just hang on. Oh, okay. I have been working on giving feedback to myself. Now, that might sound a little dangerous. It can be. But what I realized when I apply the be your own best friend or the best friend model, it really helps my feedback to myself. So I don't need to go into an example. But I just realized I was actually doing that without consciously actually doing it. It seemed it's automated itself somehow. And thank goodness that I can determine what's effective and ineffective. So I'll give it a 9.5 tonight, and really good conversation. And I look forward to next week. I think it's going to be amazing. And yeah, I would be, if we're allowed to direct our feedback, if we're allowed, I would prefer to ask for growing edges rather than something that I do.
We will be doing stuff like that next week. Okay. So no worries about that.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You will be able to request feedback in specific areas if you would like.
Yes,
okay.
That would be very interesting, because it is amazing. Believe me, I've been through these feedback exercises numerous times, and it would be amazing if you asked something about how do you think I would treat a pet. Like, I know that's a sad example, but it would be amazing how many people have opinions or information for you about that.
I understand. And that's what we're going to do next week. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Shane, do you wish to share your experience tonight in the wrap up?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely 9 for me is my number. I imagine it was Becky that put in the chat. Effective feedback elevates a person's self-worth. So was that you, Becky?
I put it in there. Blair said it, so credit goes to Blair.
Well, but anyway, that really resonated with me. And the internalization of one's own person's view of themselves definitely have to be. I don't want to say be careful, but they're definitely going to lead the conversation to the feedback. If you know that person that you're talking to, how they view themselves, and that feedback that you give them on what you're wanting to get out of that feedback. So, very, very wonderful. Glad to be back. So, thank you.
Great to have you, and thank you, Shane. And Christy, do you wish to share your experience with the wrap?
Of course. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I'm very glad to be back as well. It's been quite a while. So very, very informative as always. My number is a 9, by the way. And not only do I love how beneficial the feedback can be towards having, being able to communicate more effectively. But I also need to, I think, not only be able to give it, and can't wait till, I can just have it roll off my tongue that it's so practiced so much or whatever, but I will be able to receive it as well. Just, I think that I struggle sometimes receiving feedback, good or bad. So I think that will be really good for me to in the receiving part of the feedback as well. So love it. I can't wait for next week.
Oh, thank you. Timothy, do you wish to share your experience tonight in the wrap up?
Yeah, sure. That was really, I've looked at my notes pages and this is like very condensed, so it's good. Lots of stuff. I don't know where to really pinpoint, but I wanted to mention something about what I watched from last week. And when Tim, actually yourself, went into that conversation about learning something and doing something, just to be concise and summarize it, and then how all that stuff happened and all the feedback that you got. So I really wanted to say that I admired how you took that. Everybody in this group gives me individual gems, so I can't really point it out, but I made sure that was something that I wanted to say, because I really did. I watched that twice actually. That's that segment of that video, and it was really cool. So but feedback, my understanding of it is different, which is great, because the best thing that you can do is to learn all the different aspects. But something that stood out too was what Jackie said about giving ourselves feedback. I think that's important, because I'm caring concerned, and that doesn't have to be before you give feedback. Sometimes that could be after too. Did I give the feedback in a effective way or ineffective? I'm using the words from the group, but you know what I mean. So I think it's important to practice feedback in all aspects, whether it's with people, with ourselves. Feedback is great, and I love it. Thank you. 9-5 for sure. Have a good night, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Timothy, and I appreciate your comment. Thank you. Brent, do you wish to share your experience in the wrap up?
Yeah. Gotta say, I enjoyed getting the feedback from you, Tim. That was a great way to start off. But yeah, this was a great dive into feedback and the process of that to effectively practice as we go on to apply and practice and get a little more detail on what it's like giving the feedback and that process of going through it and then receiving it, and also how do you see it as a coach point of view? If you're giving that feedback, how's it being received? So you can see that, so it gives you a little more detail in it and how it's going to how that works, so you have an idea of where it might be adjusted. And I like the example given with the sandwich part where Blair did it. That was something that it was great to see, and how it was quickly, pretty fluid on doing that. I was like, how are you gonna pinpoint like 3 different statements in the one and make it sound like it's not awkward, coming out? So that was great. Yeah, so I'll give it a 9 for me tonight.
Thank you, Brent.
Mhm.
Colin, do you wish to share your experience in the wrap up tonight?
Jackie is waving at us. I think her mic is off though.
It is.
Your mic's off.
You're
Jackie.
Jackie, your mic is still off.
The awkwardness that you might feel when you're giving feedback is just because you're getting used to the words. It's just like that learning curve, right? And it may feel like it's scripted, but they don't know that. Only you do. And that's one thing that I had to get over, is them knowing that I was giving them the feedback formula. They don't know you're giving them the feedback formula. It seems like a normal conversation. Well, not a normal conversation, but like a conversational piece.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie. Colin?
Yeah, 10 from me tonight. This is just super relevant. I feel my brain working on an epiphany. I don't know what it is yet, but I can feel it, like it's processing something. So I'm excited to see what that will be. I feel encouraged, grateful, relieved in a way, when everyone shows up so intentionally and engages with the conversation. That's something that I'm working on doing more of, and I appreciate this opportunity to do so. So thank you.
Thank you, Colin, for the feedback. Jackie, or sorry, Patty. Wow. My brain did a backflip. Patty,
Hey,
would you like to participate in the wrap up?
sure. I'm going to give it a 9.5 for me tonight, too. I found it interesting to do a little memory lane thing with Blair and experience those same feelings. I wasn't experiencing the depression, but I was feeling that transition to hope with his phrases. I could feel that part all over again, even though I wasn't even in a depressed state. And the opportunity to share that experience with you all was really meaningful to me. It was such a life changer. So I'm looking forward to this continuing next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
Can I jump in for 1 sec? Sorry, it'll be quick. But I feel like every time we do this feedback or this wrap up thing, everybody's giving everybody feedback. So we're already practicing this stuff. We need to acknowledge that as a group. Just saying.
Thank you, Tim.
It's a great point.
We're giving indirect feedback. Feedback formula is more direct feedback, but you're absolutely right, Tim. Extremely good observation. I concur.
Jane, do you wish to share your experience in the wrap up tonight?
Sure. I'm going to give it a 9. I always love going back over the feedback formula. I struggle with coming up with the right words. I have a hard time expressing my feelings. I don't know if that's one of the reasons why I'm an expressive person, because I don't have the words for them. And so when I try to use the feedback formula in my everyday life, that I get stuck, because so there's one of my gaps, is that I just get stuck because I don't have the word, even though I have an idea, but I don't have the word. So this is always good. This is always good review for me, because I continually work on it. I didn't understand part of the feedback sandwich. Is it an open face sandwich, or is there a positive gap positive? Is it a true sandwich, or is it an open face?
True sandwich.
Okay, so there's supposed to be a positive after that. Okay. Excellent. And then I think this is the first time that I've really connected with asking permission to give feedback. Or if I had got it before it became, I don't want to say relevant, I'm more aware. And one of the things that I love about the feedback formula is it gives me an opportunity to compare and contrast to what I call, prior feedback that I may have gotten, whether I wanted it or not, kind of thing, and being able to compare that and going, oh, hey, when somebody said this about me, I can now question and say, hey, that was kind of an opinion thing. It may not truly reflect who I am, more as reflecting what that other person may have either judged or their opinion, which is, of course, a judgment. And therefore, now do I need to take it as relevant? Are they even relevant in my life, in my sphere of influence? And gives me that opportunity to reevaluate that whole bit and then look at what I actually see and look at the perspective that I may have held or am holding now, in which I know for myself I have a lot of self-confidence, but I still, with the words that come out, is, well, I know what I'm going to get, people are going to reject me, whatever. That doesn't, it's getting to the point where I'm starting to understand that it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So seeing the difference in this feedback formula and being able to use it as an evaluation tool rather than accepting someone's judgment. Yep. You're hyperactive, you're whatever the label in the past may have been. I can now get to a point of clarity rather than taking on someone else's certainty. So and then so I'm looking forward to the practice next week. It's going to be interesting. And I feel really honored and privileged to be able to be here every week and to learn from all of you, because each and every one of you always has something that gives me back an increase in knowledge in an area that I really enjoy. So thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Did you give us a number?
I did.
Oh, okay.
It was a 9.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for the feedback. Becky.
You gonna go with me next? Okay.
Yep.
All right. I feel delighted when everybody leans in and shares. It is such a incredible culture that we have here, and I feel honored to be privileged and privy to your guys' energy, your thoughts, your insights. So thank you. Feedback has been a very powerful thing in my life, and I love having the opportunity to explore it deeper and have the practice to be able to build on my awarenesses of how I might be able to use it more effectively. So 9.5 for me tonight.
And for me, it's interesting because coming into, I don't, feedback is a little bit uncomfortable for me, I will admit. And, but as Jane shared, it's interesting as I give and as I receive feedback, it is interesting how it does build that self-confidence, how it does. I mean, even giving, I noticed tonight, knowing that we were going to be talking about feedback tonight, and that I would be giving some feedback, I came to the call not like prepping for the feedback that I was going to give. I wanted it to be genuine and in the moment, and just pick somebody and give the feedback. And so Timothy and Brent, I hope you guys know that was genuine. That was from my heart, and it was in the moment. It wasn't pre. And I find that when we actually when it is in the true format of feedback, it's we're not only potentially building who the person receiving it's self-worth, self-confidence, and helping them, but it also helps the person who is giving the feedback, because just giving the feedback to you guys tonight and helped me in a big way. And I noticed just how much I enjoy it. And so I am, as everybody shared, I'm looking forward to next week and being able to just be able to give everybody some feedback. So it'll be exciting. And tonight the conversation was great around feedback. I loved everybody's insights. So it was a 9-5 for me. So thank you, everyone. And Blair, would you like to share your experience tonight?
Yeah, thank you. I had an amazing time tonight. Tonight was very special, so 9.8 for me. I love being able to do the retrospective journey with Patty. That was fun for feedback, and seeing her expressions on her face and all of that stuff. That was just amazing and awesome. But tying in, the feedback, self-worth and self-acceptance in such a with Matt's demonstration and Lisa's stuff going on, it was so spot on. It's one of those rare moments where you find a situation as a facilitator, as a coach trainer, that you can then pull it exactly and show people, demonstrate exactly in real time, real world stuff, how feedback impacts self-worth and self-acceptance. And it's not that common. I see it, I know it, I attempt to do that, but then to have it go whack and just show up on demand practically in this time, but being able to capture that in the moment was very sweet. So I love those kind of moments. They're fun. So I had a great time tonight, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Blair.
All right, you guys, that's a wrap for tonight. Thank you so much, everybody, for being on with us, whether you're here on the Zoom live with us or you're watching via social media channels. Thank you so much for spending your time and investing your time with learning mind models. If mind models have touched your life, we'd love to hear from you. So please send an email to blair@rewiringthemind.com or share a written testimonial, a 2-minute video on how mind models have touched your life. If you're joining us on YouTube, please make sure that you comment, like, and subscribe so that we can share the gift of mind models with others that you feel would be beneficial. Appreciate you all. Again, reminder, we are here every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain. So please make sure that you join us, and we will see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.